The Eagles are less than 2 weeks away from the NFL trade deadline, and today we receive a list of potential trade targets that they could go after. The question is, will Howie Roseman actually pull the trigger? Could Brandon Graham affect it at all? And speaking of BG, we get a positive update on him today as well. And last but not least, A.J. Brown takes to social media yet again to discuss his role on the offense. It's starting to get annoying again. We'll react to all of it here on A to Z Philly, but welcome into the show. I am RB. Do me a quick favor, man. Make sure y'all hit that thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. A lot of people have been saying they aren't seeing the videos, so make sure you turn noties on. We try to give you the Eagles news every single day. Keep it fresh. Give it to you first and foremost. So do us a favor and show us some love. But speaking of showing us some love, some guys on the Eagles might not be feeling the love again. We'll get to that, but I want to start with Jalen Hurts, who has been nothing but efficient. And this past week, it's funny, I'm not hearing any Jalen criticism. I'm not hearing anybody come out and say, oh, well, he can't throw. Oh, well, they won because of this. He didn't do this. By the way, 0 rushing yards. I'm going to keep going back to that. 0 rushing yards in one of the best passing games we've ever seen. No, it's not a fluke. He can do that. He showed that to you in both of his Super Bowl performances. I don't know why people act like it doesn't exist. But nonetheless, Eagles quarterback Jalen Hurts has been efficient in his last 22 games, 52 touchdowns, and only 6 turnovers. That is insane when you really start to think about it and think about how much this guy has actually won. So I believe he is a top 5 quarterback, but I also believe he has a top 5 wide receiver. That wide receiver being A.J. Brown. Maybe he has 2 of them. Devontae Smith, right? What a big time game for Devontae. I think he's going to carry that momentum into this next game. But back on AJ, he is not practicing today for the Eagles. We have not received any other update at the time of recording this. Maybe it's just a rest day, maintenance day, whatever. Or maybe something's going on. I don't know. But AJ Brown is on the sideline today at practice. Why is that relevant? Well, I take it back a few weeks to the whole drama situation where AJ made the cryptic tweet right after the game. He had said, if you're not welcomed, not listened to, quietly withdraw. Do not make a scene, shrug your shoulders, and be on your way. By the way, when he did this, the Eagles were 4-0. Ever since then, it seemed like the outside noise got into the locker room, got into the coaching staff. Maybe they were listening to all of these different outlets talk about the Birds and how they didn't have an effective passing game, and they went away from running the ball. Even though it hasn't been working well, it was keeping defenses honest and off balance, and they tried to throw it a lot. What happened? They lost 2 games in a row. Running game still isn't clicking, and now this past week, they absolutely shredded one of the best passing defenses in the NFL. Why do we bring this up again? Well, yesterday, AJ takes to social media again, and he goes on his Instagram, and this is what he said. Using me, but not using me. So AJ Brown goes on social media yet again and is starting to create drama. Now, I love AJ. I think he is one of the most talented receivers in the NFL. I think he is on his way to being the best receiver in Eagles history. I love everything he does on the field. But at some point, AJ's agent or maybe one of his close friends or somebody else in his inner circle needs to tell him to put down the phone. Like if AJ's thinking about making a post like this or dropping a caption like that, he needs to take a second, really think about the impact it's going to have, and then think twice about whether or not he wants to do it. Because whether or not he meant this in a malicious way and whether there was any intention of throwing shade at the Eagles offense based on recent events, you know that this is going to create noise and drama. And it just seems like a recurring thing where AJ Brown continues to do this. And what's really weird is that he puts this out after the best passing game of the season, the best offensive game of the season by a mile. And you know what? As much as I like AJ, it's just starting to get annoying. Just stop tweeting. Stop putting stuff on Instagram. Just go out on the field and do exactly what you did this past game. And that is be one of the most dominant receivers in the NFL. And he does all this right after I go and give him huge praise and said he was right about the Eagles offense. And I'll go back and repeat exactly what I said a few weeks ago. He is right. Kevin Patullo still has not done that good of a job. If you watch some of the tape from the other day, a lot of those big time plays were kind of the Eagles' talent just bailing out bad play design. But nonetheless, You just had a stellar performance, so why go out and make this post right now? No, I'm not going to overreact and say to trade AJ and get him out. I think that's absolutely ridiculous, but at some point, there just has to be some checks and balances, and you have to stop doing this because it's only going to create more drama within the team. Simple as that. After this past game, I do believe the Eagles are on the right track, and I think they are figuring some things out, and I just hope that there is no setback because of this. But last year, it felt like there was a little setback because of the guy that actually aired out the dirty laundry, and that was Brandon Graham. And oh, by the way, things come full circle. Speaking of Brandon Graham, he's back. He is actually back. You know, I thought about it more and more. I still don't believe it's right to ask him to come out of retirement, but like I said, if he is okay with it and he's advocating for it, and based on his comments on, I think it was a radio station the other day, he said, I wanted to come back at the end of last year. I wanted to play. Matter of fact, Howie Roseman and the Eagles told me that they probably were not going to bring me back, which for me does strike a lot of questions. Like, if you were going to go out and sign an old guy like Zadarius Smith anyway, even though you were trying to have the youngest defense in the NFL, why not just bring BG back? Even if he doesn't play a lot of snaps, we know his voice and his mentorship and all of that. His leadership is exactly why people want him to come back right now. So I don't know why they didn't just bring him back at the beginning of the season, but it seems like he really does have the fire and the desire to play. So Brandon Graham is expected to be available on Sunday at 1 p.m. against the Giants. We know he's going to be smack talking like crazy, and hopefully he can play some snaps. If so, I mean, that's just remarkable that he's already back in game shape. I still would not mind letting him take a week or two, especially with the bye week, and, you know, try to get things up to speed. But Brandon Graham is back at practice today. Here is an actual photo of him. Yes, it is Kelly Green week, and I am excited for that. But BG's back with the young boys, and I just feel like his tone is going to change a lot. Matter of fact, Vic Fangio said that he was joking with BG, you know, at the beginning of the season saying, come back, come back. Well, it sounded like he wanted to. And it sounded like Vic Fangio, a guy who's really rooted in his ways, right, and has his philosophies and really sticks to his principles, was wanting a guy like Brandon Graham back because he embodies a lot of that. And I think Vic almost feels like Brandon is a mini coach within the team as well. So I'm excited to have his presence back. But the ultimate question is, does that change the Eagles trade deadline philosophy? Well, today we got a list from Jeremy Fowler, and apparently the Eagles are connected to 7 of the top 25 NFL trade targets. I'm just going to go down and read them. So, number 1, Trey Hendrickson. Number 2, Reek Woolen. Number 3, Mark Andrews. Number 4, Jermaine Johnson. Number 5, Michael Carter II. Number 6, Arden Key. And number 7, Cam Taylor-Britt. Now, we could go and analyze each one of these guys. We'll probably talk about them more in the next couple weeks. But in terms of where my head is at right now, I think they need an edge rusher and a corner. But I honestly think that I would lean more towards the side of getting a cornerback. And I'll tell you why. And before I tell you why there, I do want to add too from Jordan Schultz, the Dolphins are sitting at 1-6. Teams are keeping a close eye on their pass rushers ahead of the trade deadline. That includes Bradley Chubb, Jalen Phillips, and Matt Judon. These are guys that we have talked about in the last week or two. So I do think Howie is going to make some calls to the Miami Dolphins. We'll see what happens there. But the reason that I would go for a corner more than an edge is because I really do not believe at all in Adoree Jackson or Keely Ringo. And when I look at the Eagles edge rushers, Nolan Smith is coming back from injury. Now, we hope that he's going to get back to 100%. Yes, they add Brandon Graham. I don't think that drastically changes the depth of the position. Like, I hope BG can play snaps, but until I see it, I'm not going to really believe that, you know, he's going to come in and give us 6 sacks. So other than them, I still think the Eagles have talent, whether it's Jalix Hunt. I think Josh Uche's played pretty well. Ojulari's banged up, but he'll probably come back at some point. I think they have the talent, and based on the scheme and what Fangio likes to do, as we saw last year, if the Eagles have a lockdown secondary, they don't even have to rush the quarterback that much. They didn't even blitz Patrick Mahomes once in the Super Bowl. However, when I look at the Eagles secondary right now, I'm a big believer in Quinyon, obviously, Cooper DeJean. I think Makuba has had an up and down season. That's how Vic Fangio described it as well. And Reed Blankenship is a pretty solid piece on the back end. Now, the Eagles do have Jakorian Bennett coming back. We have a quote here from Fangio on Bennett. So I do want to see what he has to offer, but he's also been injured for several weeks. So we really only have like one game of a test to see what he can actually do. And if he cannot play up to the level that the Eagles need, and you have to go into the postseason with a mixture of Bennett, Ringo, and Jackson, who, by the way, is now hurt as well, I just think it's going to be an absolute nightmare. With the game on the line, like, for example, last year in the Eagles-Rams playoff game, the Rams were trying to push the ball heavily down the field in a minute and a half or whatever it was, and they were making progress, and that was on a really lockdown secondary. If the Eagles go in with a guy like Keely Ringo, I mean, they're going to give up 30 points in a playoff game because teams will just continue to target that guy. So I think it is 100% necessary for the Eagles to upgrade their secondary. Whereas on the line, I still think Vic Fangio will be able to figure that out. Vic Fangio, on his evaluation of Jakorian Bennett, quote, "Yeah, incomplete. I never felt like I had a good handle on what he is and what he isn't. I don't think he played enough to answer that with definitive conviction." So it doesn't even seem like Vic Fangio is 100% on Jakorian Bennett right now. And I just think Howie has to make something happen, and I believe he will. So we'll see what happens. Last but not least, the Raiders met with Maxx Crosby and told him that he would not be traded. The Dallas Cowboys were getting all hyped for a second because apparently the Cowboys were interested in him and they wanted to go out and trade for him. But too bad, Dallas. You let Micah go. Now you want Maxx Crosby. It ain't happening. And last but not least, a look around the league. Speaking of edge rushers, Bryce Huff has 4 sacks in his first 6.5 games this season. Keep in mind, he was reunited with his former coach, Robert Saleh. So I think this is a good combination for Bryce Huff. Doesn't mean he would have had any impact on the Eagles this season under Vic Fangio, but I am kind of happy for him that he's getting his career back on track, even though I don't like the way that he shaded the Eagles when he went out. Those are my thoughts. Give me yours down below. How do you feel about the A.J. Brown situation? Who do you think the Eagles should target at the trade deadline? Give me all your thoughts, and as always, appreciate everybody for tapping in. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. That being said, I will catch you on the next one.